this is Corral again. We've already talked about how do you structure a 5-paragraph essay. If you remember, I use as a metaphor the stool, right? And this is the stool. And then we talked about that the stool has 4 legs, and that each leg represented a part of the part of the essay that we needed to get correct, to get done correctly. If not, the essay would be wobbly, like a stool wobbly. It wouldn't be tight. We've already talked about in quite enough detail about structure. How do you go about structuring a 5-paragraph essay? I've already begun to talk a little bit about grammar, but I want to continue talking about grammar. What role does grammar play? Because you can have the structure fine. You can know how to do the thesis statements. You can know how to do the 3 points, and then each 3 points have their own 3 points. But if the grammar is not good, if you do not know how to put words in a sentence so that they make sense, or so they have the most effect, your essay is not a well-written essay. That's why I have a stool, and each leg must be strong. So now, what I'm going to talk about is grammar. As I said, we've already begun talking about it a little bit, but let's go into more detail. Now, you know there's 8 parts of speech, and the first part of speech is the verb, and there's a reason for that. The reason is that without a verb, you have no sentence. So that's the first thing we have to emphasize is the verb. And here's a question. Can you have a sentence without a verb? Okay, you can answer. I'll give you a couple seconds. All right. The answer is no. You can have a lot of pretty words, but all they are is a lot of pretty words strung together, but it's not a sentence. Here's another question. Can you have a sentence with only a verb? Okay, I'm thinking, you're thinking, yes, no, can you? The answer is yes. And I'll give you an example. Let's say I come into the room, or let's say my son or my child has done something bad. I come in, and then the child is coming up to me, and I said, sit. The child's not going to look at me like, what do you want me to do? I said, sit. Or if I say, leave, the child understands what's to do. And that's the point. A sentence is a complete idea. And in order to have a complete idea, you need a verb. So let's look at some characteristics of verbs. First place, when you look at a verb, there's certain words you have to have in mind, certain ideas, certain concepts, right? So this is the word verbs, right? First of all, you're looking at whether a verb is regular versus irregular. If you don't know what that means, that can be a problem. You're also looking at verb form versus verb tense. It's not the same thing. And each is necessary to understand so that when you write, you know that you're writing correctly or not. Because you don't want to guess, I wonder if that's right or not. You don't want to guess. You want to know if your sentence is correct or not. You want to be able to sit down, read your essay, and analyze it, and be able to say, this is right, even though it might not sound right, or this is wrong, even though it might sound right, because you understand grammar. So the first thing we want to look at is regular versus irregular. What does that mean? Well, if you speak a Latin-based language like Spanish or French, think of the word regular and irregular. Regular means something that follows the rule, follows the norm. Right? And if it's irregular or irregular, the very word ir tells you not. So it's not regular. Right? So let's look at a regular verb And then let's look at an irregular verb. And let's see what that means. So I'm going to erase all of this, so I'll have room to look at what we're going to be looking at. Okay. Now first I want us to look at a regular verb. Regular. As I said, a regular verb is a verb that follows the rule. So that means if I give you the rule, I can give you any verb, and that regular verb that I have given you serves as a model for any verb. Okay, a very common verb. Now I'm talking about only one tense, that is in one particular time. So let's look at the verb to talk. Okay, now I'm talking about the verb to talk in the present indicative. In the present indicative. How do I conjugate that verb? How do I take that verb and I put it with I, or with you, or with we, or they, or he, or she, or it? That is what you mean when you say conjugate. To conjugate the verb, to conjugate it. Okay? I'm breaking it down into its different persons. Easy. First thing I do is get rid of the to. Because you don't say I two talk, you two talk, we two talk. You say I, you, we, they. Then over here I'm going to put he, she, and it. So let's say my sentence was about I do the action, or you do the action, or we do the action, or they, or he, or she, or it. So you got rid of the to. You take what's left, which is talk, and you bring it down, and you have talk. So, as an example, I talk to Mary, you talk to Mary, we talk to Mary, they talk to Mary. Then, once again, you take the verb that was left after you remove the to, you bring it over here, and you put talk. But because it's he, she, and it, you just add an S. And that's the rule. So I can give you any verb that I choose, and you know how to conjugate it. I'm only talking about the simple present tense or the present indicative. When we go into detail about verb tenses, I'll explain what does it mean, present indicative, and all of that. Okay, so let's say I'm going to use the word, instead of talk, I'm going to use the word, I don't know, write. Now I'm only talking about the present indicative because the verb to write in other tenses can be irregular. But here, what do? I just do the same thing. Number one, I already have gotten rid of the to. Bring down the right. Don't even have to erase the S here. And just write the word write. And there it is. I, you, we, they write. He, she, it writes. If a verb is irregular, I can't do this. For example, I can't give you the verb to be. Let me erase this. Let me erase this. Let me erase all of this. Oops. Once again, I'm talking about the present indicative, and I have the verb to be. I can't just tell you, oh, all you do is get rid of the to, bring down the be here, and bring down the be here and add an S. I can't say I be, you be, we be, they be, he, she, it bees. I be fine, you be fine, he, she, it bees fine. You can't do that. That's not correct English. What do? The verb to be, first someone has to teach you or show you how you do it correctly. In the present indicative, it's I am. You, we, they are. He, she, it is. How do you know that? Well, I've gone to school. This is what I've been taught in school. All right? So this is an irregular verb. In the present indicative in English, we have about maybe 10. Another would be, another verb that's irregular in the present indicative. Let me just write this quickly. To do is the verb to do, and also the verb to go. It's I, you, we, they do, but it's he, she, it does. Notice how I'm spelling it, D-O-E-S, not D-O-S. How do I know that? I've gone to school, I've learned. You have to do the same thing. Your irregular verbs, you have to study. The verb to go, I, you, we, they go, no problem, but he, she, it goes. And if you notice that the S here and the S here, they're pronounced like almost like the Z. Does, goes. In our next video, we'll talk about the difference between the verb form and the verb tense. But let's just recap very quickly. When you're talking about verbs, you're talking about regular versus irregular. You're talking about verb form versus verb tense. A regular verb, it follows the rule. If I give you the rule, that verb can serve as the model for any verb. I, you, we, they talk, he, she, it talks. That's an example of a verb that's regular in the present indicative. The verb to be, on the other hand, the verb to do, the verb to go are irregular verbs. So you have to learn, and remember your teacher would say, you have to memorize how you do those verbs. Once again, this is Coralla. I'm trying to work with you in order for you to write a dynamic, tight, high-level, academic 5-paragraph essay. So until the next time, thank you very much.